So the only way how you play Piper is you don't spin on her. To be fair, right? That is like all Vivian blooms. That is like the one problem that Piper has, is the only way why Piper is good right now. When you start your EX, as long as you spin, nothing happens, right? But when you let go, it's gonna proc in a bloom, and when it hits, it's gonna proc in a bloom. It has 2 heavy hits to it. The problem is that Piper itself, like unless you do a troll build like Crit Piper, is very reliant on Vivian. Like, she's straight up unplayable without Vivian. And when you play with Vivian, most people do this one mistake where they just continue spinning. So they don't really utilize the iframes that Piper has, nor her bloom usage. That is surprisingly pretty hard. So a Piper Vivian team is not easy to play. Don't you need to spin to get her engine to work? Yeah, but that is why her engine is bad. You literally don't use her engine because you don't spin. It really just depends on what your goals are. And I think that is incredibly important for people to understand. Because everybody has a different approach to these games. Good Piper is pretty hard to play and most people do not play her correctly. So we just steal whatever Jane currently has. Actually, we could take the pen ratio one here. The rest should be pretty fine. Practice perfection, of course. Will Quickness with Dialan work? No, because you don't get Dialan's additional ability. Unless you have a Rupture attack agent. So, that is how our Piper is looking like. It's important that Yuzua goes into Piper because you need the quick assists on Piper. We want Robin for Vivi. Time to twirl? Well, we are not playing Herta. Can't do that, that is okay. Actually, let's ult here. Jane Sick or Weeping Gemini on Alice? I personally prefer Weeping Gemini, but it depends on you, right? Do you something? Woo. I wonder if I should ult here. Maybe. Bum, bum, bum. And that was not really ideal, but that is like 1k away from Adia right now, yes. But you really just don't spin on Piper. Unless you have nothing else to do during a stun window, right? But you, outside of the stun window, you don't really get to it, because enemies are just way too aggressive anyway. Don't you need to spin to get her engine to work? Yeah, but that is why her engine is bad. You literally don't use her engine because you don't spin. Bernice Piper, you have to spin. It is, I would argue that Bernice Piper is not really playable. Like, the difference in strength between Piper Bernice and Piper Vivian is like double. The only way why Piper is good is because a bloom exists from Vivian and she can proc it twice per EX special at the cost of 20 energy. And afterwards you can have like hyper carry Piper with Nangong Yu. You just did Bernice Piper on Fiend 20k? Yeah, of course you can 20k. I'm not talking about 20k. I'm talking about 65k. Like, try to get as high as possible, not just minimum scores. I'm not the person for minimum scores. You can 20k with the most dog shit thing if you want to. You can play Crit Lucy and do 20k. Crit Lucy main DPS will 20k Pompey. Like, the only thing... I mean, we can quickly go on VR, right? Ben, Lucy, Nicole will 20k. Yeah. To be fair, that's a really ugly team to play, but it will 20k. Crit Lucy, or does that even look? I mean, we can play it if you want to. So let's get like the thing here, right? So, if you look at her EX special, I'm just gonna hold her EX so you can see when it procs, right? You're gonna see the bloom right now. Oh, sorry. Here. Let me do that again, because that have been 3 procs. That is a little bit unfortunate. So, if you're gonna start with your EX, you have like 1 proc right here and then 2 here, right? So you're gonna just remove everything. It's a little bit ugly, but the way of how her blooms literally work is you are gonna proc like a shit ton of blooms, right? You can see. That's also why, like, M1 Vivian really helps with that. But, right? We are at 5 stacks right now. So, you go in here, you press EX, EX. You're gonna consume, like, 2 things, 2 things every time you press EX, right? There you see. Can you pause the infinite energy? Sure. 1... Oops. Let me just get full energy here. So. EX and let go of EX. And it's gonna proc 2 blooms every single time that you press EX at the cost of 20 energy. And that is the way of how this team works. When you start your EX, as long as you spin, nothing happens, right? But when you let go, it's gonna proc in a bloom, and when it hits, it's gonna proc in a bloom. It has 2 heavy hits to it. And that is like the entire reason why this works. And it also works with M0 Vivian, it's just much more annoying because you need to parry much more. Right? So you have like EX, switch out, a bloom, and another bloom. And if you proc like, you know, look at that, how many blooms you can proc. If you do that right, you can proc like 3, 4, 5 blooms within like 2 seconds. It is a big problem on her management, because you need a lot of, like, you need to make sure that you utilize her chain. You need to make sure that your ultimate is up. You need to make sure that you have enough energy for at least 1 EX special. But spinning on her, like, look how much anomaly I apply, right? It works, but it's comparatively to what, like, the blooms do, absolutely nothing. Let's try this again, just so you guys can see. So. Each bloom is 280k, right? Each bloom is 280k. I mean, to be fair, this is not like the boss thing here, right? But, you know, 280k blooms. So, if I just do a single normal assault by keeping her EX pressed, it is 366k. So, assault. Of course, this is more than this. The difference is, this is gonna proc within 1 second, and this one has a 3-second ICD. And you're gonna proc this 2 times. Arguably even 3 times if you proc this on top. It is just literally more than double the damage. So with this tech, your Piper will nuke the Vivian blooms to the enemy, yes. And that is also a thing you can do with Bernice as well, by the way. Right? Vivian Bernice works the same way. So, we do need to apply some stuff here. Come on. Get an anomaly. So, right? So we have special EX. Special EX special, right? Special EX special. Special EX special. And we are out of stuff. Every single time that you press her special here and you transition, it's gonna be a proc, right? You see? 2 blooms. 2 blooms. 2 blooms. No. Not 2 blooms because we are out of stacks again. 2 blooms. 2 blooms. Right? That is just how you play this team as well. Basically, both Piper and Bernice are incredibly quick at consuming Vivian's feathers. Arguably, they are too quick at doing that. And you always want to keep using the Vivian flowers. Yeah, like the difficulty of a Piper, Vivian, or Bernice Vivian team is maintaining Vivian's feathers. Because you are very quick at spending them. Like, very quick. That's also why, personally, for Piper, I would highly recommend getting a Vivian Mindscape, because it is incredibly comfortable. But it's really just a matter of how well are you able to maintain it. You can do that with M0 Vivi. But the M1 just helps a lot, right? With Weeping, you got 29.9. Yeah, it depends on how well you are able to maintain Sharpened Stinger. That's literally it. That's like all questions about it. I personally fucking hate Sharpened Stinger because I don't want to maintain it, especially during stun. I want to turn off my brain and not think about dash attacking randomly in between. And that's it. Also keep in mind that you have to change your substat distribution and stuff if you run Weeping Gemini. So with someone as Astra that skips Vivian's first basic, this team flows easier. Yeah, but it's much worse than Yuzua. Like, the problem with Piper is Piper has effectively 2 teams. You have Piper, Yuzua, those are mandatory, and then you have either Vivian or Nangong. Okay, those are your teams. Team 1 is with Vivian, Team 2 is with you. Okay, those are your 2 teams. Do you want to play Piper? Do you have Vivian or Nangong Yu? If the answer is no, don't play Piper. And arguably, you want to make sure that Yuzua goes into Piper as well. Like, you have those 2 options and that's it. No, you cannot play Astra. I mean, you can, but it's gonna be a lot worse because you need the anomaly build-up. Piper's anomaly build-up is dog shit. Like, you literally... those are the teams. If you want good Piper scores, you play those 2 or you don't play her at all. If you don't want great Piper scores, then, I mean, play whatever. You can play Piper, Lucy, Nicole if you want to at that point, right? Everybody has a very, very different approach and different goals. My goal is 65,000 points. I want to kill a boss. That is my goal. If I cannot kill the boss, then I want to get as high of a score as possible. 60,000, 62,000, whatever. Those are my goals. And I'm gonna recommend and make my guides based on those goals. I am not the most gifted player. So, the way of how I can make up for that is by trying to find optimal stat distribution. And trying to find how to play a team. Whether or not I can execute it is a different question, right? But if you only care about 20,000 points, none of that is gonna apply to you.